The coffee shop seemed frozen in time. The dim, soft light cast gentle shadows on the walls, and even the ticking of the clock seemed slower than usual. Outside, the rain poured steadily, each drop striking the window like a quiet drumbeat against her chest. Sarah sat in her chair, but it felt as if only her body was there. Her spirit weighed down, broken. Her hands were wrapped around the warm cup of coffee, fingers trembling slightly as they brushed the edges, desperately seeking some comfort, some warmth. This blind date wasn't just a meeting. It was a test, a reckoning. Deep inside, her mind was full of questions. Could she trust another person again? Was she even worthy of love? Across from her, Adam sat quietly. He wasn't impatient or intrusive. He wasn't studying her or judging her. There was a calm presence in him, a quiet patience that seemed to cradle her shattered heart. Taking a deep breath, she looked up, her voice trembling as she asked, "Am I still worth loving?" It wasn't a question for him. It was the last plea of a soul that had been trapped in silence for years. Sarah's life had not always been so quiet or hollow. There was a time when she woke up in the morning, looked into the mirror, adjusted her hair, and felt proud of herself. She had dreams then, small but shimmering, and she believed that love was safe, that it was something to be trusted. Then Michael came into her life. At first, every word he said was soft, every smile protective, every promise seemingly eternal. But over time, the compliments turned into judgments, the smiles into criticism, and the warmth into coldness. "You're too sensitive. You never understand anything. You're not enough for me." These words slowly seeped into her heart, turning it brittle. Sarah began to shrink herself to make him happy. She silenced her laughter, hid her opinions, dimmed her dreams, and shaped herself into someone else's ideal. And yet, the more she tried, the stronger he seemed. Then one day, he left without explanation, without remorse, just a closed door and an empty apartment. That day, Sarah lost more than a relationship. She lost the belief that she was worthy of love. A poisonous seed of self-doubt had been planted, and she felt it grow with every heartbeat. Adam listened silently, but he wasn't just hearing, he was feeling. He had walked through his own private storms. His wife Laura had died in an accident, leaving a chasm in his life that nothing could fill. After that, he devoted his entire heart to his son Noah, making his love and presence only for him. Adam had promised himself that he would never allow anyone else to come too close, not even emotionally. Love was dangerous. He had already lost too much once. Yet in Sarah's eyes, he saw a familiar pain, the same questions, the same silent screams he had carried in his own heart. She was not weak, she was alive and surviving, and that made her stronger than most. He realized that this woman was not broken, she was wounded, and wounded hearts often deserved love the most. At that moment, Adam knew that his only task was to listen, understand, and let her heal in her own time. Sarah spoke, each word heavy with years of unspoken grief. She told him how she had left her job for Michael, how she had slowly distanced herself from friends, how she had buried her own dreams beneath the weight of someone else's desires. Then came the night she found messages from another woman on Michael's phone. Her heart shattered in ways words could never describe, but even more painful was his response, "You forced me into this." That sentence pierced her like a blade. After that night, Sarah began punishing herself, believing she was inherently unworthy, convinced that love was never meant for her. Her eyes carried the heaviness of someone who had carried the weight of the world and still forced herself to move forward. Every breath reminded her that she was not enough. Every heartbeat echoed with shame, and the quiet of the coffee shop amplified her pain. Suddenly, the coffee shop door swung open, letting in a gust of cold air that lifted her hair and sent a shiver down her spine. Sarah's heart jumped to her throat. She lifted her eyes, and there he was, Michael. Same confidence, same arrogance, same poisonous smile. His gaze landed on Sarah, then on Adam, and he laughed, low, mocking, chilling. "Still trying to find life in coffee shops?" He sneered. His words carried venom and a reminder of the past. Every memory she had buried came rushing back, each one sharper than the last. This moment wasn't just a chance encounter, it was the past manifesting itself, trying to break her again. She shrank in her seat, fear and helplessness clutching at her chest. Michael turned to Adam and said with a cruel smile, She's broken. She's not worth loving. Sarah froze. Years of conditioning, fear, and pain all came crashing down. She felt herself shrinking inside, hating her own existence. But this time was different. Adam stepped forward calmly, his presence grounding her, shielding her in ways words couldn't yet. He understood that love was not demanded, taught, or proven. It grew through patience, through presence, through small acts of understanding. Sarah felt something she hadn't in years. She wasn't alone. For the first time in a long time, she felt a spark of hope flicker in the darkness of her heart. This was the turning point, the moment she realized that maybe, just maybe, she could begin to trust again. The cold rain kept tapping against the glass windows of the coffee shop, each drop echoing the rhythm of Sarah's racing heart. She wrapped her fingers tighter around the warm cup, as if holding on to the last piece of courage she had left. Adam took a quiet step forward, not aggressively, not dramatically, but with a calm strength that Sarah hadn't felt in years. His presence didn't demand anything from her, it simply offered safety. In that moment, something inside her cracked open, not pain, but release. Tears filled Sarah's eyes, yet these were not tears of fear. They were tears of relief, of being seen without judgment. Adam spoke softly, his voice steady and sincere. "You're not broken, Sarah. You're wounded, and wounded hearts are often the ones most capable of love." Those words settled deep inside her chest, lighting a small but powerful spark. For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt that trusting again might not destroy her, it might heal her. Adam's quiet strength was joined by something even softer, Noah. The little boy stood near the window, watching the rain trace crooked lines down the glass. When he turned towards Sarah, his eyes held curiosity instead of judgment. In a shy voice he asked, "Do you like rain too?" Sarah smiled, surprised by how natural it felt. She nodded, and Noah stepped closer, holding his father's hand before slowly letting it go. That small gesture reached Sarah in a place words never could. A child's acceptance, pure, honest, unafraid, wrapped gently around her heart. She realized then that love wasn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it arrived quietly, in small hands and innocent smiles, asking nothing except honesty. Michael still stood there, but something had changed. The confidence he once used like a weapon no longer cut her. He spoke, but his words felt distant, hollow. Sarah looked at him and felt something unexpected. Not fear, not anger, just clarity. She finally understood that his cruelty had never defined her worth. It had only revealed his own emptiness. When she turned back to Adam, she saw no control, no superiority, only respect. And in that contrast, the past finally loosened its grip. Michael faded into the background, no longer the shadow haunting her heart. The warmth of the room, the steady rain outside, and Adam's silent support broke the final barrier inside Sarah. She cried, not quietly this time, not apologetically. She cried with her whole heart. Years of self-blame, shame, and loneliness poured out in trembling breaths and shaking tears. Adam didn't interrupt. He didn't rush to fix her pain. He simply stayed. Noah gently placed his small hand against Sarah's arm, and that touch grounded her. In that moment, she understood something profound. Love doesn't always save you by changing your past. Sometimes it saves you by staying with you while you let go of it. When Sarah finally lifted her head, her eyes were red, but her expression was lighter. Something heavy had left her. She met Adam's gaze, and for the first time, she didn't feel smaller. She felt equal. "We all break at some point," Adam said quietly. "But choosing to stand again, that's strength." Sarah nodded. She wasn't asking to be rescued anymore. She wasn't begging for love. She was simply allowing herself to be open. And that made all the difference. This wasn't the beginning of dependence. It was the beginning of partnership. The rain slowed, then stopped. Outside, the world looked freshly washed, softer somehow. As they stepped out of the coffee shop, Noah walked between them, holding both their hands. Sarah felt the cool air on her face and a calm in her chest she hadn't known in years. She finally answered the question she had asked at the start of the night. Not out loud, but deep within herself. Yes, I am still worth loving. This blind date hadn't given her a fairy tale ending. It had given her something better. Hope, healing, and the courage to believe in love again without fear.